If you fly for Cloudsdale, Pinkie Pie won't have any pony to cheer for. Rarity's uniforms will never be seen, and
Rainbow, as the element of loyalty, you know what you have to do. Save Rarity's career and let Ponyville loose. She's obviously suffering from an intense burnout since Manhattan. Hello there, this is the AnY Pony and welcome to my analytical top 5 Yay and Nay list for Rainbow Falls. This is the third episode by Corey Paul. Her track record so far included the critical acclaimed Sleepless in Ponyville and Just for Sidekicks, which has been considered one of the weaker episodes of Season 3. Well, 3 is the charm, so let's see how Corey holds up. Many of my list entries will be topics you might have already heard by all the other analysts who already released the videos. One example I believe everybody at least mentioned is number 5.
Neigh!
The whole questionable setup for the story. I am aware that not everybody feels necessarily negative about it, but the fact that so many people do address it speaks for itself. Pairing up Rainbow Dash with a complete loser team. Yeah, that term sounds a bit harsh, but come on, the episode itself is treating them rather mean. Just to create the scenario for the upcoming conflict to work, we get this one piece of dialogue with Sunderlane, which would trigger the nostalgia critic to sing the exposition song to provide an explanation why no pony else was available. Obligatory Hurricane Fluttershy reference, blah blah blah, hundreds of other Pegasi in Ponyville. You have probably already heard it. I still call it contrived as hell that the only ones left are Fluttershy, known to be an extremely weak flyer with performance anxiety and fear of crowds, and, well, him. I'm getting to that issue in a minute. But before, let's talk about something awesome. Number 5.
Yay!
Yup, the fandom's favorite in-show mascot is back. Her inclusion in that episode was, as Nicky V MLP pointed out in his recent video, rather perfect.
When Rainbow went down and they needed a new third, the writers needed to go with someone who was obviously kinda crap to emphasize the, yeah, this team is kinda without Rainbow factor. And who better than the wall-eyed wonder herself?
Giving her an actual reason to be there even turns her comeback from mere fan pandering into fan referencing.
I think we as a collective fanbase need to learn the difference between fan referencing and fan pandering. Fan referencing is when the writers add something to the show that they know the fans will like that will either make no difference to the actual story or actually further the story. This, along with most of the stuff that gets accused of being fan pandering, was fan referencing. Fan pandering is when the writers add something to the show that they know the fans will like that takes away from the story.
And therefore justifies putting her front and center. Nice move. In addition, by not calling her derpy, presenting her as a klutz, or giving her a kind of insulting voice, strange squeaking noises aside, I am also confident that we don't have to face any censoring this time. I can't imagine DHX bringing her back with so much spotlight without checking with the superiors first after the disaster last time. Now, considering all my praise for the way they managed her comeback and my actual first reaction to seeing her, why only number 5? Well, you see, in the big scheme of things, this little nod is not really relevant, she does not really add so much to the episode, and well, I just like to screw with people's expectations and try to keep this list interesting to watch. If I would have not brought her up until number 2, yay, you would have known my number 1 right away. So yeah, you can consider her my actual number 1 yay after all. Now let's move on from a fan reference everybody is totally happy about to one that is a bit more controversial. Number 4.
Neigh!
Bulk biceps. Sorry, but I stick with Snowflake. Just rolls easier off the tongue. As a fan reference, he actually has been executed really well, ignoring my previous part about the flawed setup itself. But as Give and Take grew more and more attached to him throughout the episode, I felt more and more repelled by his presentation. Damn, if I continue completely disagreeing with you, I am kind of afraid what you will do to me in the next rambling video you will illustrate. Nevertheless, I admit Snowflake has never been much more than a source for a quick joke, and I actually enjoyed him for that. Turning him into a supportive cast member based on that premise alone did actually hurt him a lot in my eyes. Before, he just came across as a bit strange, and seeing that he's actually not as tough as his looks suggest was a rather funny twist on it. Now, however, he is a complete idiot who can't talk normal at all, can't spell, constantly switches between his stoic demeanor and puppy dog eyes, and worst of all, can't fly. He freaking is a Wonderbolt cadet, just as Rainbow and Sunderlane. I call this development getting hit with snips and snails syndrome. Please, MLP, you have an amazing, strong, inspiring female cast. There is no need for turning nearly all male characters either bland or stupid to make sure they don't outshine the female main cast. That's what makes a quote-unquote typical girl show so bad. Please, you are better than this. The following is really just a small and minor detail, but... Number 4.
Yay!
Griffins! Griffins! Okay, let's check my Season 4 wishlist. 3 already fulfilled. With the Griffins we have now 4 going into a very good direction, and only 1 the writers need to be a bit careful, but that is actually on a good track after all. Number 3.
Neigh!
We have our second Rainbow Glowy Thingy. That is not really my name. Even so, a smoother tie-in of the overarching storyline would be preferable for a change. What annoyed me was the presentation. Rarity's moment of enlightenment has already been everything but subtle, and the whole eyes glowing aspect is spoon-feeding the symbolism with a sledgehammer. But I am completely okay with that. The way it has been integrated in Rarity Takes Manhattan was still somehow smooth. A character witnesses from her point of view a reflection moving across a barrier. Yep, my disbelief is suspended and my immersion intact. Seeing a single ray of light coming out of nowhere, hitting a jar of water, creating a prismatic effect, and observably moving along the floor towards the item the character is supposed to look at? Disbelief shattered, immersion broken. But despite my critique on this single incident of questionable visual art direction, I have to say... Number 3.
Yay!
The visuals are once again pretty sweet. Like it has been the case during Rarity Takes Manhattan, the location is very detailed and original, and the background is full of characters and movements. I am really glad that economizing the resources during Pinky Apple Pie pays off so well for other episodes. Great management there, DHX. Well, damn it. Looks like I am about to join the choir after all. Number 2.
Neigh!
The presence of all main 6 was distracting. I mentioned in the past that I don't have a problem with the featuring all main 6 as often as possible idea in general. Quite the opposite. I admit that in the previous episodes there have been plenty unnecessary lines of dialogue just so everybody got something to say, but it never really bothered me enough to criticize it. Until now. I'm actually rather cool with Pinky and her cheerleading arc, but AJ's Apple Brown Betty sideplot was just so weird and even distracting at times. And I would have been fine with Rarity's plot irrelevant presence if it hadn't been for that too much joke. Rarity used to design dresses that even I, as the male fashion grudge I am, could appreciate as good looking. Now look at this! Did she suffer a stroke recently? Well, basically leaves only one member of the supportive cast I haven't addressed yet. Number 2.
Yay!
Twilight World was actually interesting. Was her dialogue well written and did her integration in Rainbow's arc went smoothly? No. Nevertheless, I am intrigued how she handles the situation and how she has developed. In the past she used to be about lecturing others and tell them what to do. Now she shows more of an Celestia-esque approach of standing on the sidelines, giving the protagonist a push every now and then and basically letting her figure the situation out herself. Now, please let her start using her wings at least every once in a while, for crying out loud. And burn that wig. Number 1.
Neigh!
The Wonderbolts. What a bunch of... I don't really need to go into detail, do I? Just look at their behavior throughout the episode. Lying, betrayal, evil smirks. You know, I considered Spitfire sympathetic back in the best night ever. Look at her now!
We could learn a lot from a competitor like you. Think we already have.
No shit, Sherlock. And Sorian, you better go see a doctor. I believe you have a case of snips and stay syndrome as well. And try to get an appointment with Iron Will while you're on it. Believe me, you need it. Guess even moving Derpy down to number 5, you can probably still tell what is about to come. Number 1. Rainbow Dash development. Not the conflict she has to face, mind you. Other analysts already compared it to many of her previous encounters, including her very first one with the Shadow Balls. I want to focus on her character. It starts right at the beginning with her team. For a character who had to struggle a lot with her superficial attitude in the past, reading, tank, compulsive need to be cool, it tells a lot that she is actually willing to be seen as a member of that team. Sure, she is still acting all full of herself, but she does not really seem to be embarrassed to be a part of Team Ponyville at any point. She also does not act on impulse when she gets invited by the Wonderbolts. Admitted her cop-out attempt was everything but mature, but showing that winning has become less important to her than rejecting either team is really interesting. Well, that this attempt was short-sighted and doomed to fail is another story. But hey, Dashi has never been the smartest. While her heart has always been in the right place, it gives me a good feeling to see that she had learned to show that more openly. Overall, I have to say it was a weaker episode, especially in regards to the writing, but it also had enough elements to make it enjoyable nonetheless. This is the AnY Pony saying see you soon.
On this journey and quest of mine, I'll find a way to get it with much less time. What do I do and where do I start on my journey?